Hey guys, John here with another exciting video. I feel like it's early Christmas for me again because I just got something exciting in the mail. This is the Analogue 3D. It finally came in. This is a Monday right now before Thanksgiving. I didn't expect this to get this in so soon. I legitimately thought this would get delayed into 2026 as everyone has been theorizing, right, due to the tariffs and the whole economic situation and everything, but just came in today. Let's see how good the compatibility is. I've been reading some news about flashcards and some accessories, so I'm gonna give it a test myself, and then I'll give my final thoughts at the end of the video. So let's go ahead with the unboxing first. All right, so first things first, I do appreciate the non-descriptive box that Analogue has sent it in. You really can't tell it's a Analogue box at all, so there's no worry of someone stealing it. It's just a plain brown box. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it. So we got some tiny amount of padding. Not too much, but I think it's enough to cover a box of this size. Just black box that has a tiny 3D logo right there. And then it just has a sticker that says white or black. So that's pretty much it for the box. Very simple. Let's go ahead and open it. All right, we are opening the 3D box, and voila, there we have the console itself. I got the white color. I absolutely adore it. I wish they had original gray color, but I'll settle for white. It's pretty clean. I would say that I'm glad I got the white one because the black one is kind of a fingerprint magnet from what I'm seeing online. And the white one, yeah, it looks beautiful. The on and off button, reset button, feel good. The 4 controller ports I'm excited to test and use. There is kind of like a rubberized texture on the bottom so that the console itself won't really slide unless you really push it, which I appreciate a lot. And then on the back, we have the power USB-C, 2 USB-As, 1 HDMI, and 1 SD card, which they've actually have looks like it's their own branded one. It is a little bit hard to get in and out, but nothing I'm complaining about too much. Overall, this thing really is lighter than the original N64 that I have back in my family house. It's a little bit smaller, a little more compact profile. So if you adore that, then this is a great addition to your TV room. So in the rest of the box, this is the HDMI cable. We have a USB-C power brick, USB-C power cable, comes standard with all the Analogue products. And then in here, we have the cartridge cleaner. I believe this is what you use if you want to like rub the inside of your cartridges to clean them a little bit. Of course, you can also do this DIY on your own. And then we got some little stickers and a QR code for a quick start guide. And that's pretty much it for the rest of the box. All right, so now with it unboxed, I have laid out everything that I wanted to test with this console in front of me. So starting from the left side here, I have some original USA cartridges. This is the original Diddy Kong Racing, Super Mario 64, and GoldenEye 007. These are literally the first 3 video games that I've probably ever played in my life. I have a couple of other ones upstairs as well, but these are the 3 I'll primarily test. And then on a recent Japan trip, I actually bought copies of Super Smash Bros, the original in Japan, and also a copy of Pokemon Stadium 2, also in Japanese. I've heard that the Analogue is able to play pretty much almost every single real cartridge out there. So I'm excited and I expect these to work fully out of the box as long as the contact pins are clean. I have with me also an EverDrive-64 right now. For those of you who may be watching during the holidays right now, during Black Friday, Thanksgiving, I believe the original developer is having a sale on their site right now. I'm not sponsored, but I've used plenty of their products in the past. And what it is it's an original flash cart designed to work with an SD card. There is a little SD card reader on the side, and there's also a port for development. Now, I have heard as of today, as of the recording of this video, there is no compatibility yet for this. However, I did see some tweets and some Reddit threads that he is working on a software patch to get this to work with the Analogue. So I'm pretty excited for that because there are some games I wish to play off of a flash cart like this. And just to confirm that it fits, it does fit in the cartridge as expected. I am excited for whenever he's ready to release an update for this, it won't work out of the box. If you do get one, you have to get the patch yourself and patch it, and of course provide your own ROMs. That's all the gaming stuff I wanted to test. Now for the accessories, I have a bunch of different ones here. So 3 original Nintendo 64 controllers. Some of them are from my childhood that I've cleaned up. Some of them are from Japan, like this blue one right here. I even found kind of this cool limited edition teal one. I also have their official 8BitDo 64 Bluetooth controller right here. Now, I've heard mixed results about this. I didn't want to commit all the way to getting 4 of these because I already have some existing controllers, but I decided to get one anyways just because I wanted to test them. I've usually had pretty good reviews and experiences with 8BitDo products. I've heard the layout of this can be a little bit weird. I mean, the Nintendo 64 controller is already weird, right? So how much worse can it actually be? And it has Bluetooth, it has all the modern settings, so I can't wait to unbox this and try this one out too. This is an interesting one. So this is the official Nintendo 64 NSO controller that's released for the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. I bought this when I was in San Francisco. We went to the Nintendo store. I have read that there is no support yet for this for the Analogue. I do hope that there becomes a way in the future, maybe through official support or maybe jailbroken firmware support. Who knows? But I do expect this to eventually work with it out of the box. So that's kind of a taste of all the N64 games and accessories I have. Let's move over to the TV, where I'm gonna plug this bad boy into an LG C3 4K OLED TV, and let's just get this thing set up and ready to go. So before I go ahead and start the console, there are 2 things that you should do first. First, you have to take the SD card they gave you, head to Analogue's website and download the latest version of the firmware. So yes, it has to be a manual update. I'm a little disappointed. I thought we were done with these things by now, but alas, they opted for a manual SD card upgrade. So plug in your SD card, which I believe this is like 16 gigabytes. With the new file downloaded, you just gotta download the update bin into the root of the Analogue 3D SD card, and then you just put it into the console and it'll auto update from there. If you don't wanna do this way, there actually is a manual USB-C SD card connect. If you should choose to do so, that is also an option. The second thing you're going to want to do, if you have the Analogue 8BitDo 64 controller, you are going to want to update this. They actually sent out an email to all the people who have bought the console to update this. You can go and download the 8BitDo Ultimate software, and we're going to go ahead and update it. 8BitDo 64 controller connected via USB-C. It shows up in the 8BitDo Ultimate software, and I see that there is an update, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it update to the latest version. All right, and with the 64 Bluetooth controller updated and your SD card with the update in the root of the directory, we are now all good to go, and let's head back to the living room. All right, so back at the living room, here I have the 2 TVs set up. If you guys haven't seen it, this is one of my most favorite videos that I've done on this channel. I did kind of a dual TV gaming setup with kind of a mirror set of consoles on both sides, but I do have an extra HDMI port on this TV. So I'm gonna go ahead, the Analogue 3D down here. One thing I will note, not a huge fan of, is that the USB-C cord for power and the HDMI, they're both tiny. Like, they're probably like about 3 feet or so. So if you don't have an outlet or like a USB hub near the console, you're gonna need to find an extender. Same thing for the HDMI. I think for most TV stands it's okay, but if you have a longer setup, then you're gonna need to find a longer HDMI for this. So with the SD card in, we are gonna go ahead and turn it on. Ooh, this is like childhood right here. There we go, it's white. And now we are seeing the update screen for the updating 3D OS. And it's very important, don't turn off your Analogue while it's updating, and we'll just let it cook. All right, and after about 5 minutes or so later, we have the connect a controller screen. So now I believe I can connect a physical controller, or I could use the 8BitDo 64 controller. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the pairing. So it's very interesting, the LED is actually a button. So I'm gonna start pairing, it starts flashing blue. Then on the controller, I'm gonna hit the pair button. Oh, actually, JK, I actually don't have battery on this thing. Let me go ahead and charge it up. Now that the controller has some juice, I'm gonna go ahead and pair it. That thing actually has been in pairing mode this whole time. So, all right, I just felt the rumble. You just had to press start and then the pair button, and then it changed. It says, welcome to Analogue. Breathing room. Open area away from heat and other sources. Yep, it's pretty open down there. Agree to the license. And then it does give you a QR code to get the latest OS, which we've already done. All right, hotkeys. So it says some hotkeys for in-game menu, cycle display mode, select rumble pack, jump to insert a cartridge. All right, so here we have the Analogue 3D OS screen. So right now I have nothing right now. Every time you insert a cartridge, it should show up and add it to your library. So I'm just gonna go ahead and test this right now. Got my games right here. First thing I'm gonna test, the very first game I've played, Super Mario 64. All right. So it does say unknown cartridge. I think that's fine. It still detected it. Probably means I have to clean the pin. So give me a second. Let me use the pin cleaner. Using the included cleaner, I'm just gonna go ahead and slip it in and kind of just give it a nice little rub against the pins. And there you go. As you can see, got some grime and a little bit of dust on there. Hopefully that was enough. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it for all of these cartridges just in case. Now you don't have to use this. There are DIY home solutions if you Google to how to properly clean your N64 cartridges. All right, let's give this another go. If this doesn't work, I did hear that it might take a few tries in order for it to get it to properly recognize. All right, still unknown cartridge. Let me give it a few tries. It took me a couple of tries, but on the third attempt, it actually did detect it as Super Mario 64. It's in the USA region, it's made by Nintendo. And now, I believe if you go into configure settings, there are some settings that you can play with, including the expansion pack, deblur, and you can mess around with the aliasing, the colors, the Force original hardware was experimental. There's also overclock right here, which you could leave it on auto, and I believe they have it set to be default for certain files. You can also do enhance, enhance plus, unleash. That's a crazy option name. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it on auto. I'll see what it does and I'll see if it actually changes anything. There's also some display mode settings. You can select it for BVM, PVM, CRT. I think I'm gonna just leave it as is. I'm not like super picky about this type of stuff, but if you wanted to adjust some of the options, you can, and I'm happy that they have all these for a 4K TV. So let's go ahead and start the game. Oh my God, it booted up. There it is, there's him, it's Mario. So I'm playing my original childhood cartridge. As you can see, I already completed the game with the 120 stars. I even made a copy of the file because kid me was paranoid back then that I would delete the file. But oh my God, let's get this to play. Oh my gosh, I'm playing Super Mario 64. This is awesome to see on a big 4K screen. Now I am playing with the new 8-bit 64 controller. I gotta admit, it's gonna take some getting used to. I'm not used to having the B and the A buttons down here, but I can already see how this is a better layout with the camera controls right here. The triggers are a little bit more stiff than I would like them to be, but the stick is a Hall effect stick, so I'm really happy on that. I think it'll just take some getting used to, but I don't mind playing on this so far. So pretty decent first impressions of it all around. But yeah, I don't know if you can see. Let me move the camera closer. There is some filter going on right here on the 4K TV, but it does look good. I will say it does look a little bit upscaled, maybe a tiny bit enhanced compared to the original. I remember this looking like crap when I booted it up on my TV at home. So I think it actually looks halfway decent here. Let me see if I can mess around with the settings a little bit more. So you actually do have to quit the cartridge if you want to modify stuff like the overclocking. So I'm gonna go ahead, you know what? I'm gonna just set it to unleashed. Let me see what the heck happens. I think to me, the display didn't really change that much, but we're not supposed to expect that much upscaling from Analogue. They're not really an upscaler. The overclock is more so for performance sake. So if you had like a very heavily intensive N64 game, it should in theory perform a lot better with overclocking on, which is already auto for a lot of these cartridges. But display wise, you're not gonna get anything past like a little bit of a better resolution, right? To me, this seems fine for an N64 game, because I mean, this is a hardware emulation, this is not software emulation, where I know you can go like 10x the resolution. So I have the display mode on clean now instead of the BVM and CRT modes, and so now it's a much more of a cleaner picture, but I will say I don't know if I enjoy playing like this, because if you really zoom in and pixel peek, like there's really like a lot of blurry edges on Mario, and it's like looking at like a 240p resolution of him. I actually think I prefer playing with some of the lines on the screen, like the CRT filter. This to me looks a little bit jarring when it's like completely smooth. Although I'm sure if there's like a custom like N64 game or ROM that has slightly better graphics and stuff, I'm sure that will look a little bit better than this game right now. Okay, it took me a couple of tries, but I finally got it to detect the GoldenEye, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit A. Oh my gosh, there it is, rareware. Classic. Oh my gosh, it's my first ever FPS, guys. As you can see, I actually never completed the game. There's still more levels to do. Just gonna start the very first level. All right, so here we are. I'm playing the original GoldenEye right here. I gotta admit, the controls are a little bit wacky right now. Thank God for aim assist. I have to get used to using the camera on this controller, because right now it is very hard for me to aim with this. I gotta say, the game runs pretty smoothly. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I would love to see if this works in multiplayer. So I have GoldenEye 64 4-player multiplayer up. I'm using this as the first controller. So as you can see, I'm moving the very top screen. All right, so we know this one works out of the box. Now, in the controllers down here, I have all the cables connected to 2, 3, and 4. Notice how because 1 is connected through Bluetooth, the LED is actually lit up for 1. If you take off one of these, you'll notice that it is not lit up. So that means I can plug in a normal OEM controller here, and let's see if it works. This is the second player. And as you can see, I am moving the second player just fine, and it moves and reacts just as expected. It's just a little hard for me to use this controller one hand, but it does work. Same with the other ones. Again, another OEM controller, player 3. And this is probably my favorite controller design. Controller 4 is the special color editions. I can't believe I found this in Japan. It was such a good steal. But yeah, this one also works out of the box. If you have 4 controllers to go, then you can go ahead and just play your favorite N64 multiplayer games, just like this. I tried to put Diddy Kong Racing in, and even though I know I can launch this without it having detected, you can see all my unknown cartridge attempts for this. Maybe I just need to do a more thorough cleaning of this one in particular, but that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and test a Japanese copy now. Let's go ahead and test Pokemon Stadium 2. All right. So we have the Pokemon Stadium 2, the Japan version, and I'm able to just load it up just fine. Okay, I just had to unplug it, plug it back in, and reboot the cartridge, but it detects everything now. Japanese version, everything is of course in Japanese, but I got this cartridge for cheap, so I don't mind it. Just gonna go ahead and select whatever. Oh my god, this is so nostalgic. I wish I owned the US version of this game. I played it at a friend's house, and I'm just like, oh, I wish I got this. Even though I can get it off eBay for a pre-owned price. Oh man, it's just so nostalgic. I think this might have been one of the first 3D Pokemon games I've ever played in my life, even before the mainline games. So yeah, the announcer and everything's in Japanese. Everything's in Japanese. You can do your move sets, which you can do using one of these buttons right here, which actually in this case, I do prefer this controller because now I can just select the moves that I want to use, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and use a fire attack. Of course, it's a water type. Why did I do that? I mean, everything plays pretty well. I'm happy that it detected and could run my Japanese copy. So for a game that you don't need to know much Japanese in, here is the Japanese version of Super Smash Bros, the original N64, as produced in Japan. I love the alternate cover art on this more than the US version. I just think it's so cute. Let's put it in. It did the unknown cartridge again, so I'm gonna do this a few times. I guess the 5th time was the charm, and I'm just creating more unknown cartridges, but it did detect the Nintendo All-Star Smash Brothers, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. Here we go. You can do a versus mode, nostalgic Super Smash Bros. Here are all the characters. I'm just gonna go ahead and pick Mario. There we go. I've used all 4 controllers to pick a character, and then yeah, you can just go ahead and smash. Yeah, this is awesome because you don't need to know much Japanese in order to play this game. In fact, some of it is already in English. It does feel weird playing on this controller immediately for this, but I think it's something you can get used to, and I think it's more comfortable in the long run if you're serious about playing the Super Smash 64 version like flawlessly. And I didn't need to do much outside of just trying to put in the cartridge a few times in order for it to properly detect. But again, you can play this without being properly detected too. All right, last thing I want to note here is the EverDrive, and of course, like at the time of this recording, this is not supported, so even if you try to put it in, I'll show you what happens. It's gonna go to an unknown cartridge, and if you try to hit A to boot it up, it is just going to linger on a black screen for eternity until there is a patch out, which the dev should be working on as we speak. Don't expect to use your EverDrive's plug and play out of the box yet. Wait for an update on his website, patch it, and then we should be able to play it. It seems pretty good from the progress pictures that he's been posting on his updates. So flashcards, all that. I know the summer card works natively. Of course, all these third-party flashcard drives, it's dependent on either the developer or Analogue to support it, and in this case, it'll most likely be the developer. Another update as of this video, the NSO N64 controller, like I mentioned, does not natively work on the Analogue 3D yet. I did stumble upon a Reddit thread. Someone user claimed that using one of the adapters by RetroScaler actually worked with it, but unfortunately I don't own that, so I have no way of connecting this natively or wired to the console. As of now, I expect there to be some sort of third-party action or maybe a official support from Analogue in the future. This will just be used on the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 until we can get support for the Analogue 3D in the future, which I hope is pretty likely. Finally, I want to go over some of the system options that we have because I forgot to do that so at the beginning. Of course, it's outputting at 4K 60. You can turn this down to 4K 50, 1080p, 1080p 50 if you so desire. You can change the LOM, you can turn HDR off or auto. Current system version at the time of this recording is version 1.1. And then you have a user guide in the About section. And I believe that's pretty much it. If I had more cartridges, which I'll probably load it up in my own time, they will all show up here. I kind of wish they showed the images on the screen. I believe there might be a way to do so in the future, or maybe something I have to do, but out of the box, it doesn't do that right now. But I don't mind this OS look. I actually think it's kind of clean and simple. But hopefully in the future, they might add something like themes or something like that, whether through official or third-party means. All right, so that was my initial gameplay setup and impressions of the Analogue 3D on my 4K LG C3 OLED TV. Overall, I am pretty happy with this device, but once you boot it up, I was pleasantly surprised to see all my classic N64 controllers working. The 8BitDo controller worked flawlessly as well. We are just waiting for compatibility with other controllers like the NSO N64 variant, but the fact that I can just pretty much almost plug and play my controllers and stuff that I've owned since I was a kid to play 4-player split screen, that's puts an amazing smile on my face immediately. I can't wait to play some games at game night with my friends. This thing currently does cost about $250 MSRP. I believe it is sold out. I think it's been sold out for quite a while now, so if you didn't get in during the summertime or earlier this year when it was still in stock, you might be out of luck. I know they're trying to restock. I think this will pretty much be up in the air for grabs. If you're not quick enough, it might go to scalpers, just as other Analogue products in the past have. Let me go through my pros and cons of this device so far. So far, I would say pros, this is one of the only FPGA products right now for the N64. There are pretty much no other competitors in the market. I know Mod Retro is making one soon. Hopefully that'll provide some good competition for this device. I'm excited to see what they have come out with. I reviewed the Mod Retro Chromatic as well in a previous video, and I was impressed by them. Whatever your thoughts about the company aside, I do think competition is good and healthy for this space. The next pro is they do advertise their features out of the box, right? It is plug and play with your games, your original cartridges, and as well as foreign cartridges, right? I'm sure any Japan or European copy of the cartridges will work out of the box. Flashcard support is going to be up in the air. It's going to depend on the developer and such, but I have no doubt that the developer of EverDrive will put out a patch soon for this, and I have full confidence that he will try his best to get this working, as he has done in the past with others. Another pro I will say is I do love the form factor of this. It is much smaller, it is more portable, it is more convenient, and it's pretty much what I imagine a modern N64 to look like. I think they absolutely nailed the aesthetics, and I'm glad I got this in the white color so that this thing isn't a huge fingerprint magnet. I am sure, knowing Analogue and what they did with the Analogue Pocket, which I've also reviewed on this channel as well, that they will do a color variant, limited edition, all that jazz in the future releases of this, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we can expect to see a gray color variant of this, as well as the awesome, fun retro colors variants of this. Maybe even D-Brand will go ahead and create some skins for it. All right, so now going to my cons of this device. It did take a while for me to properly insert some cartridges, even though I know I can boot them. It didn't give me huge consumer confidence. I had to just push it in fully and out in order for it to be fully properly detected by the game. I also want to note that it does seem a little bit harder to put your cartridge in compared to my N64 back at home. Props on them for allowing you to boot from unknown cartridges, right? That's probably what I'll be doing half the time. But I do hope that support for this will become easier in the future. Maybe one day we can get to the point where you just put in the cartridge, it automatically detects it, or at most you'll only have to retry once or twice. I would like support for all the stuff like Wi-Fi to be able to update it. I would like support for official images to be able to see what games are on my main screen. I would love for more options for customability, like themes, as well as more settings in the future. And I know in general, there's a lot of features that they still haven't promised for this device, right? Like, I can think of like VRR off the top of my head. I can think of support for like controllers off the top of my head, right? That's why this is hardware emulation. It's not exactly hardware recreation, because the fact that these all should work on the original N64 barring the NSO controller proves that there's still more work to be done with this device. You are buying a device with the promise of future updates, and in the tech world, that is considered a no-no, pretty much a yellow flag, because you don't know if they will deliver or not. Analogue is pretty much infamous as a company that doesn't have a lot of communication. A lot of the news is around speculation and third-party devs, right? But I will say, given their track record, I have no reason to assume that they won't keep perfecting this device. I do firmly believe that this device will get better in the future as more updates come, whether that's through official or third-party means. And I do think over time, we will see this product get to the same place as the Analogue Pocket is to the open FPGA world as well. But yeah, that has been my initial review and thoughts of the Analogue 3D. Please let me know in the comments below, what would you like to see from this device? Is there anything you're looking forward to? Are you waiting on your order? What games are you looking to play? What third-party accessories and or flashcards are you hoping that it'll support? I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm a huge fan of what Analogue has produced so far, and I hope it can continue to get better. At this current point in time, I can only give this about a 7 out of 10 so far, as I hope it'll continue to mature. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.